Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
The WNBA has a massive officiating problem that is going to be a huge part of the CBA, and it goes well beyond Caitlin Clark. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for being here. Appreciate all your support. Hope you're having a fantastic day. And of course, shout out to the 19. So I got a couple of clips that I want to go over here from the Fever Aces game. Stephanie White and Becky Hammond tackling it from a different perspective, of course, but I think it also shows that it goes much deeper than all the stuff that we've seen with Caitlin Clark, and it is a huge red flag going forward for this league. Let's take a listen first to what Stephanie White has to say.
To find any flow, and when that was the case, what are you trying to do to jumpstart things, maybe on the defensive?
Well, it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul called every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor, and that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively, and we didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm, it's about timing, it's about spacing. We allowed them to do that, and they kept us from doing it.
So a couple of things here that are really interesting, and to her point now, I'm not necessarily in agreement with Stephanie White that she wants the Fever to get up and down the court. I don't think she is that much about high tempo. We see it in the number of shots and so forth. But she is correct in that when the other team is constantly shooting free throws, setting aside all the other issues that we'll get into in a minute, if you do want to get up and down the court, if you do want to create mismatches by getting the ball down court quickly, even if it just means not necessarily a fast breaking, hey, we're going to get layups, we're going to run and everything thing, but to get into the half court quickly, where you may get different matchups and you want to get into your offense quickly before the defense truly gets set, even though it's sort of maybe a half court offense, but you want to get quick shots within the shot clock. You can't do that when the other team's constantly shooting free throws. And then you have the flip side of that, of course, is your players get into foul trouble as well. You create opportunities for the team that is getting the whistle. We've all talked about Asia Whistle and how much that impacts her game. And look, she led the league in free throws with 290. I believe Plum was second all the way down at 244. But it is so much more than that, because I pointed this out after that game, and it was one of the few things that I post that got a ton of likes. Got more likes than I have followers, which is wild. But of course, then you had the people who are like, "Oh, Asia only shot 4 free throws." Well, it's so much more than that, though. The whistle changes the game because, one, you're also not going to get fouls called on Asia Wilson, which changes how she plays defense. It changes her screen setting. Asia Wilson sets illegal screens almost every single time she sets a screen, and it's called maybe once or twice a season. You can see it time and time and time again. So that allows her teammates to do different things. That gets players open. It gets the defense frustrated so that they try and fight through that, and then you get calls against them. You get Asia Wilson will draw calls that happen when she gets the ball and she might dribble. So there's a whole lot into the Asia Whistle that isn't just about her shooting free throws. So let's be clear on that. But it absolutely does change. It changes everything about your game when you're getting, in this case, what we call ticky-tack calls, because we've all talked about the physicality of the league, which is a problem, and them not calling it. And then when it flips, because you've got players like Asia Whistle and you've got the Las Vegas Aces, and you're calling fouls that aren't fouls with regard to this team, that really changes everything and completely changes the dynamic of how you play the game. But let's talk. I want to also get in Becky Hammond here, and I'm going to play about 48 seconds here. I'm not going to play this whole 2-minute clip because it's about the first 50 seconds that really, really matter. So let's take a listen to what she had to say after this game as well.
The scores of these games, I don't think really are reflecting how intense they feel. I'm wondering if to you that's maybe because of the physicality, or why do you think that is?
The physicality is out of control, that's for sure. I mean, you can bump and grab a wide receiver in the NFL for those first 5 yards, but you can do it in the W for the whole half court. You put 2 hands on somebody like that, it should be an automatic foul. They have the freedom of movement. Freedom of movement. There's no freedom. And I'm not saying that we're not fouling too. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's out of control.
And then
Wow. Now, man, I'm so conflicted on this because, sometimes the messenger matters, and Becky Hammon is not the best messenger for this, considering she has Asia Whistle playing for her. They are one of the most favored teams with one of the most favored players, the most favored players in the league when it comes to fouls being called or not being called. This is the Whistle team. That being said, she's 100% right about what she's saying about the things that are not being called and this freedom of movement that we keep hearing about it. Caitlin Clark is mugged, grabbed, clutched, elbowed, clawed, squeezed, punched 94 feet from end line to end line, from sideline to sideline, completely changes how she plays, completely changes how hard she has to work to get anything. Y'all, I'll tell you, if Caitlin Clark was officiated the way Asia Wilson is officiated, Caitlin Clark would have been a 30, 15, 10 player last year. What, 50, 40, 90? Caitlin Clark would have crushed that. But that's another story for another day. But my point being, what is Becky, we'll give Becky Hammond a little bit of credit here where she had a little bit of, hey, I need to step back and see myself. I'm looking in the mirror as well when she said, hey, I'm not saying we're not fouling either. That is, look, this league it's definitely skewed for certain players. It was skewed against Clark. It's skewed in favor of Paige Beckers. It's skewed in favor of Asia Whistle when it comes to the calling. But the fact that it is so egregious right now that Becky Hammon is saying, hey, I'm not saying we're not doing it either. We're not doing it too, I should say. That is a huge problem for the league. That is a huge red flag for the league. When you have a coach who gets it in their favor far more often than not, coming out and saying, hey, this stuff's got to be called, and hey, I get that we're getting away with it too, but it still needs to be called. That is a huge problem for the league, and I think you're going to see that being one of the legitimate issues for the players come the CBA. Although I got to say, I'm not going to be completely on board with it until we see how the game is officiated for Caitlin Clark as well, because to call it to that shows how bad it is, I think, when you've got the players and the coaches like Becky Hammon coming out with this. But it's still, if it doesn't change for Caitlin Clark specifically, that is a whole nother issue. But I think this is a huge red flag for this league going forward in terms of what the CBA is going to look like. They're going to want better officials. It's going to be interesting to see how the game is officiated in terms of the entire league. Is there going to be a cutback on the physicality of the league? Because again, that also is going to then open them up for showing a bigger lack of skill, because the physicality has always hidden that fact. And that is why I believe the physicality has been part of the league for so long, because it hides the lack of skill from these players. I mean, Asia Wilson had one of the most embarrassing missed layups I've ever seen, and she's supposedly the best player in the world. But anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Really do appreciate it. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Go have the day you deserve, and I will talk to you later.